Let's freaking go! Arkansas fans, just let me know in the comment section below. I'm looking at you. We're going to get to all your live comments as well. Do you believe TAYLEN GREEN should be benched? Okay. A lot of you have kind of labeled me as a film study guy, and that's great. I love doing the Arkansas film reviews. I love covering this team. But I want to make this live show bigger and better. So please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. Every Monday at 5 p.m., we have an Arkansas live stream. And then tomorrow at 5 p.m. on Power Hour SEC, I'll have my normal Tennessee show. Okay. So you're getting two shows for the price of one. So if you like Arkansas football, tune in not only now, but tomorrow as well. Okay. A lot of you have sent me a different variation of the same article today. And pretty much every single article started the same way. Well, Arkansas's offensive line struggled when it comes to pass protection versus Texas A&M. So I'm going to show you, this is my favorite Arkansas site. I like quite a few of them outside of one in particular who probably still hates me. Let's show you Best of Arkansas Sports. So I talked to Evan at Best of Arkansas Sports pretty regularly, as I do Andrew Hutchinson. So Hutch is definitely one of my lifelong media buddies, okay? But I've seen a few different people write this same article. TAYLEN GREEN has been pressured on 41.5% of his dropbacks through 5 games, according to Pro Football Focus. That rate ranks second among SEC quarterbacks who have at least 15 dropbacks this year. Okay, so guess what? This was also written on the same exact, kind of in the same exact timber. This is Christina Long. I do not know Christina Long. So, Christina, you have an open invite to join the channel whenever you want. I love reaching out to new media members and former Arkansas players. You're always welcome on this show as well. Same exact thing. Protection issues have plagued Arkansas football in recent weeks. They're a major factor in the Razorbacks' 21-17 loss to Texas A&M on Saturday. Quarterback TAYLEN GREEN was sacked 3 times, bringing a season total to 12, and faced pressure on 37.8 of his dropbacks, according to Pro Football Focus. Okay? So, I understand I'm the film study analyst, and there are plenty of people that know ball way better than me. Okay? Way better than me. But I'm going to give you 2 truths from what I saw in the Arkansas game. Okay? The first is the offensive line for Arkansas this year is night and day compared to what it was last year. Okay? This is not me defending KJ Jefferson or Dan Enos or anyone from last year at all, but the scheme from last year never really helped Arkansas, and KJ regressing never really helped Arkansas, but still, that was the worst Arkansas offensive line I have ever seen. I have no idea how it was that bad, okay? It was communication issues. It was guys just getting beat, guys getting ragdolled. I had never in my life seen an Arkansas offensive line or just any offensive line get thrown to the ground as much as Arkansas's offensive line did versus BYU. Okay? Like asses on the turf. I have not seen that this year. Now, there has been a lot of criticism on Addison Nichols and the accuracy of the snaps. That does need to get better. There's also been a lot of criticism to, McNichols and I know I'm not saying his name correctly, and Carmona, the transfer from San Jose State. Obviously, their PFF grades aren't that great, okay? But as much as these articles, and I'm not calling any of these articles out, I'm also not calling Pro Football Focus out. They obviously have people that look at this stuff. But I do tend to think offensive line is one of the hardest positions to evaluate when it comes to Pro Football Focus. I think there's actually 2 position groups that are very hard to evaluate. It's offensive line and it's the secondary. That is one of the hardest positions to grade because their success really depends on pretty much everybody else in their units, right? They can look better if other people in the unit steps up, right? So this is what I keep coming back to. As I've grown older, used to think like how a lot of fans think. Well, it's all about the offensive line when it comes to sacks, when it comes to pass protection, and all of that. Y'all, sacks, pressure, pass protection has as much to do with the quarterback and the play design as the offensive line. So I understand, and this has happened 3 times today. All right. One of you sent me the Best of Arkansas article, and 2 of you actually sent me an article from Christina Long. Okay. What I don't like about the framing of the article is, and of those articles, is at the very beginning, and this is not against them, it's just how we think about football. We immediately blame the offensive line. We do. But y'all, it was as much a TAYLEN GREEN issue as it was the offensive line. And what happens as well is it's a lot easier to lay blame to an offensive line because it's a group of people. You're not specifically, crediting one person, where if you blame the quarterback, it comes off a little bit more direct, right? Because we all know who the quarterback is in TAYLEN GREEN. I think some of that is going on here as well. Did the Arkansas offensive line get their asses kicked this weekend? They did. Okay. They really, really did in the trenches. Did that shock me? Not at all. Okay. I mean, I shared in the game preview that was going to happen. I was a little concerned that, from a Texas A&M vantage point for them, that they didn't have a true run-stopping nose like a McKinley Jackson like they had in the past, or a Walter Nolan, but it didn't matter. Did their defensive line beat the blocks of the Arkansas offensive line relatively a relatively good amount of times? I didn't say that smoothly at all. But yes, they did. They did beat a lot of blocks and make a lot of plays in the backfield. But I will say that was one of Bobby's worst called games. I don't think he did a good enough job adjusting to the aggressiveness of their defense and how fast they were attacking downhill. Okay, there were a few things I would have done. Now, once again, they might have been doing this. It's impossible for me to know. But if I am seeing a game where the opposing team's defense is just firing off the football so ridiculously fast and being so unfreaking believably disruptive, the quarterback and the center need to manipulate the snap counts. Okay. You need to give them different looks. Okay. And that was a major, major, major issue. So look, does the offensive line need to block better? Yes. But I swear, if TAYLEN GREEN rolls out to the right in good pockets, again, like he did on the final play of the game, I would scream if I'm an Arkansas fan. I would flat out scream, because on the final play of the game, or essentially the final play of the game, your left tackle dominated a pass rusher who is on every first-round mock, and Nick Scorton, whatever. And he ran into the game-deciding sack. So as much as the offensive line is going to get blamed for what went down over this weekend, because once again, a lot of the articles that I've read started off with those Pro Football Focus stats, you've got to put the blame on 2 people in particular. Bobby Petrino, who I don't think called his best game, and I would also put a lot of it on TAYLEN GREEN. Okay? Because for your offensive line to look good and to not be blamed, you need 5 different people to do their job. Sometimes 6 with your tight end. But a good quarterback in any situation can make your offensive line look better, can make your entire offense look better. And like Sam Pittman said today, we need to help TAYLEN GREEN do a better job of dealing with pressure and finding ways through difficult situations. But I will tell you, from my vantage point, this is an objective standpoint. I have no ties to TAYLEN GREEN whatsoever. I would keep him as the starting quarterback. I would. I would not put Malachi Singleton out there in this situation for this reason, okay? Because I personally think this offensive line isn't as bad as people put him out to be. Their lives did become harder when you couldn't be able to run the football, but honestly, I felt fine with how the offensive line played versus Texas A&M. I think these pressure numbers get thrown around too much because, well, your quarterback is the one who invites a lot of the pressure. And great quarterbacks can deal with pressure, okay? And quarterbacks who can deal with pressure come in all shapes and sizes, all right? Now, I know this is an unfair example for TAYLEN GREEN, but Brock Purdy is the opposite of TAYLEN GREEN. He's short. He deals with pressure just fine. Okay, let's take someone who in a perfect world scenario is a lot like TAYLEN GREEN, which is Jaden Daniels. Okay. Jaden Daniels was perfect versus pressure this weekend. Then again, he's been perfect versus everything. So I think that's an unfair example. But I do think TAYLEN is struggling to see things right now. The SEC is such a faster game than what he played it with at Boise State. Something else that we should factor into the TAYLEN discussion is he does not have Ashton Jeanty back there. And look, Jaquindon Jackson is as good as it gets when it comes to SEC running backs. There's not another Ashton Jeanty out there. All right. So versus Boise State competition, TAYLEN GREEN played with a running back who is probably the best player in the entire sport right now. And now you're playing against the SEC where Jaquindon Jackson is still very good. I think he is the best back in the SEC up to this point. But now everybody's good on defense that you're going up against. Okay. So I would need to rewatch the entire Arkansas versus Texas A&M game to give you an even bigger opinion on the offensive line versus a quarterback versus a play calling. But I am telling you right now, there were multiple missed pick sixes in this game that TAYLEN GREEN threw, and he got very, very lucky that they were not pick sixes. Okay. Now, let's get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. No guests today. A few of you said you like no guests. I like guests. I do. All right. But well, I'm going to do whatever you guys want this live show to be. Let's go to be on a Bob. He says Green has good physical skills. I don't think he can read a defense. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a weakness. Scott Villa is a Tennessee fan. So we'll see you tomorrow, Scott, on the Sunday 5 p.m. live stream. Your card has been shipped as well. Let's go to Hog Barbecue. Shout out Dave Van Horn and the baseball team. O-line isn't getting the proper blocks, letting people go right by them. Green can't read a defense. Basically, we got a faster KJ Jefferson. Yeah, I mean, there are some ways that they are similar, but the difference for me is KJ Jefferson was a little bit more consistent down to down. And I think we tend to forget, like, how many ridiculous KJ Jefferson games there were. Like, ridiculously dominant KJ Jefferson games. All right. And up to this point in the season, taking UAPB out of the equation, how many games would you say that TAYLEN GREEN has been, like, otherworldly good? And it's probably not one. Now, the Auburn, what are they calling it? Third in Birmingham? That's an all-time great play. Okay. Let's go to Ken. Ken, Singleton should 100% be given a chance so we can see if he's better than Green. No, not now at the very least, because the truth here, and this is going to go against with what has been, the narrative over the past year. A&M's defensive line is really good. I would say 3 of those guys are going to play in the NFL, minimum 3. Tennessee's defensive line is better. I would say if I were to rank the SEC defensive lines, obviously Georgia's is up there. Kentucky's might be the best this year. I know it sounds strange, but they are really damn good. I would say Tennessee is better than A&M up front. Man, they're good. They're really, really good in the trenches. They're the highest rated pass rusher on NFL draft boards. But their DT rotation is not only good, they are huge in the middle. The issue with A&M, they're not overly huge. They're just ridiculously athletic. Okay. Tennessee's got meat, y'all. I mean, Tennessee, do not be shocked if you see this defensive line at Wright's Barbecue before the game. All right. Do not be shocked if you see the Tennessee. Ironically, some of the best sushi I've ever had in my life was a place on Dixon Street. I never would have thought in my life, yeah, some good sushi. You'll get it on Dixon Street. I'm like, what? Is this place still open? Me and my buddy Z have gone twice. Okay. I'm looking forward to it, Scott. Let's go to You Can't Handle the Truth. Oh, you think Tennessee's going to come in and kick your ass? I think so, too. I think they're going to boat race you. I really, really, really do think so. Okay. Call me a hater. But I think Tennessee coming off a bye, this is scary. It's very scary. I'd feel better about Arkansas. Yeah, I would feel better about Tennessee if Alabama was the next week's team. But they have Florida and then they have Alabama. I got you. Okay, so I thought you were referencing this next game. So, yeah, so what game would you want to see Singleton get reps? Here's what I would say, and I think teams get this wrong all the time. So Arkansas has a game versus Louisiana Tech, second to last game of the season, okay? If you are already at 6 wins, or let's just say you don't win a game until then you should start Malachi Singleton in that game. And then that way you could see what he really looks like as a starter. And TAYLEN GREEN could still be in the game plan as well. But at this point, all right, this is just coming from media. I still think TAYLEN GREEN just lifts the floor of this team. All right. Because if you miss reads with a dual threat quarterback like him, he could still go run, extend plays, give you first downs. But I swear, it is impossible for offensive lines to block for a quarterback who rolls out to the right at every single like chance of panic, right? It is a massive issue for 2 reasons. Yes, some of the times you're going to be able to roll out to the right and outrun the contain and pick up the first down and extend a drive. But 2 things happen if you continue to roll out to the right. Number one, it becomes a little bit more predictable for your pass rush, right? If I know you keep rolling out to the right, well, I know what you're going to do. And then the second thing, when you constantly roll out to the right, is it cuts the field in half. All right. There is only one quarterback who I've seen where every time he rolls out to the right, something crazy happens. It's Josh Allen. All right. Josh Allen is not a human being like me and you. The same way Darren McFadden is not a human being like me or you. Those are top 1 of the 1 percentile athletes. Okay. Those guys can do things that other people can't do. All right. That's why they are who they are. So outside of those guys, it's not really what you want to see. Let's go to Jeremiah. The score will be close to Tennessee versus OU. We have a chance at home if Bobby can steal some points. All right. That's not the issue. All right. I think Arkansas will be able to move the football some. Wait, okay, your name is Jeremiah, but is this the book of Jeremiah you have quoting? If not, that's a pretty big flex. Okay. What verse is this? Oh, you don't believe Tennessee has a better D-line than A&M? Let me text my buddy who does like rankings every week for defensive lines. Okay. Let me text him. Who has man, every time I've seen Tennessee's defensive line, they have kicked ass, bro. They're good. They're really good. But the bottom line is they're both good. Let me look at the rest of Arkansas' schedule. The good news is the rest of the way, I mean, Ole Miss's D-line is pretty solid too. But I do think this will be the best defensive line you have left on your schedule. Texas is obviously good, but defensive line is not necessarily the strength of their team. Let's go to Mr. Bloodline. It is okay. I will say this. I think it is fair criticism to say, hey, Sam Pittman, why are your O-line struggling? Okay. I think overall Eric Mateos has done fine, right? I mean, they had a mess of an offensive line they had to fix from last year. I don't think that this group's been bad. I really don't. I really, really, really don't. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. If I and I go through this as well with the NFL channel that I do. All right. So I'm going through this with the Jaguars, okay? And kind of like Arkansas, I never intended Power SEC to be such a heavy Arkansas channel, right? I have ties to Arkansas. I've shared that plenty of times. But, yeah, it's just not my team. It's not the team that, I love. Kind of like the Jaguars. I never thought the Jaguars would be popular on my NFL channel. So I do a film study like the Arkansas one of every single game. And what Jaguar fans constantly tell me, hey, it's because our offensive line sucks. Our offensive line sucks. And do they suck? Yeah, they're not good. They're not a good group. But at some point, every single Jaguars fan since the beginning of the Trevor Lawrence era says offensive line sucks every single year. And I'm like, really? Like every single year? All 5 of those guys were just terrible? Sometimes it's your QB. Sometimes it's your QB. Like, Brock Purdy is playing the best football of his life right now. This is the worst offensive line he's had in San Francisco. His center is ass. Okay. Joe Burrow's best year at Cincinnati when he took him to the Super Bowl. Worst offensive line you will ever see in any Super Bowl. They were that bad. So at some point, like, it's your QB or your play calling. He's had 5 years to recruit online guys. Why do they suck? Yeah, I mean, Carmona's good. Nichols is fine. I mean, the stats need to clean up, though. Yeah, KJ was not good this past weekend, but overall at UCF this year, he's been solid. JC says Tesla is open on almost every play. TG will not throw it to him. So let's get into this again. And I do want to shout out one Arkansas fan. I don't know if he's watching this, but I got a Twitter DM out of nowhere. And he said, hey, I want to thank you for opening my eyes to something with TAYLEN GREEN, which is the concentrated targets. A&M took full advantage of this. Now, I know Tesla was ridiculous on that first play. You really didn't see that the rest of the game. I also want to have a conversation with Tyrone Broden because a lot of you got mad at me for defending Broden last week. And now you guys might be right. He might just not be good. Maybe they should play Tesla more. With that said, if I can see it, probably the guys that are paid millions of dollars a year, millions upon millions of dollars a year to call defense can see it as well. And if they can't see it, they have analysts that see this. Now, I say this. I got this text right now from my D-line expert who he said, great question. He literally looks at this stuff every single week, not just broadcast footage, coaches film, end zone copies too. He said it's close, but he leans Tennessee. That Tennessee's defensive line is better. Now, one thing I will add, though, it is harder for defensive lines to play well in the opposing team's home stadiums. It's just harder. Like neutral site, a little bit different. But offensive lines are always going to feel the most comfortable at home. They will. Now, I do want to go back to the Twitter DM, though. I opened his eyes to concentrated targets. It is hard to play wide receiver. Hard. With a legit dual threat quarterback who is flawed as a passer. All right. Now, this is just how these games go with elite dual threat quarterbacks. You're not always going to get fed. Not everybody is Jaden freaking Daniels, who's good at everything. Okay. So, and even with Jaden, there's going to be games where true dual threat quarterbacks will dominate a game just by how they dictate how the defense plays. Perfect example was the best dual threat quarterback of this generation, which is Lamar Jackson. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. They dominated a good Bills team where their leading receiver was their running back two, Justice Hill, caught 6 passes for 38 yards. There was no other receivers that caught more than a single pass. And guess what? They were able to dominate just with the running game. So Lamar Jackson is a good thrower of the football. And you'll have these games where receivers just don't get anything. And that is the downside when TAYLEN GREEN is your quarterback. Receivers are just not going to get fed outside of one guy. All right. There's been a lot of research done on this. Dual threat guys that don't necessarily see the field. And sometimes it's not the fact that they don't see the field, but in the back of their mind, they're like, hey, I can go run and make a play. And that makes them not actually want to throw the football because it could lead to an interception. They're like, hey, I could just do this on my own. When they actually do throw it, they're throwing to just one guy. And obviously that one guy is Andrew Armstrong. And to be honest, he deserves a lot of these targets. But y'all, there were so many of these reps where other guys were open. TAYLEN GREEN would fade away, run into pressure, and throw one of these deep sideline balls to Andrew Armstrong. It would get completed. But you could have hit Tesla. You could have hit Satania, who's had a really good season up to this point. I will tell you this. Receivers who play with these kinds of quarterbacks will tell you the same thing. It could be frustrating because the plays aren't being run the way that they should be run. And if you are going to get a target, it's when a play is going to be broken down or a play is being extended. And that's not necessarily a brutal criticism of TAYLEN GREEN, but it's just like that when you play with a quarterback like this. All right. So, what I wanted to do on the NFL channel, I had a perfect experiment for this. All right. Another team that I do a lot of videos on are the Colts. All right. So, the Colts have the perfect scenario for this. The Colts have a TAYLEN GREEN at quarterback, right? And obviously Anthony Richardson. Very similar to TAYLEN GREEN, except AR is more gifted when it comes to throwing the football and seeing the field. But they're very similar. He goes out with an injury, and they bring in Joe Flacco, who is the complete opposite of Anthony Richardson. And what happened when Joe Flacco entered? Well, guess who started cooking? The slot receiver, Josh Downs. The game before, Josh Downs got open so many times. Anthony Richardson missed him. Change the quarterback. Joe Flacco is spreading the football around. It's just how the game's played with some quarterbacks compared to others. I'm not sitting here and telling you Joe Flacco's the greatest thing ever, but it's just how the styles contrast, right? Because if you have a number one option, they're normally going to be the first read of a progression. And if you're a dual threat quarterback, if the first read's not there, what are you going to do? You're going to tuck and run. It's just how it works. Okay. Oh, look, we got some VFLs in this biatch tonight. Where are my VFLs at? If you're a VFL, and if you're an SEC football fan and you don't know what a VFL is, you need to get the hell out of here. All right? Where are my mother effing VFLs? Same thing from a Tennessee perspective. You should know what WPS means. If you're an SEC fan, you need to know what the hell WPS means. Okay? So if I was an Arkansas fan and a Tennessee fan didn't know what WPS means, I wouldn't be offended, but I'd be like, hey, do you really know ball? And if you're a Tennessee fan and an Arkansas fan didn't know what WPS means, they would say, hey, here's a photo of Clint Sterner. Kidding. I will also say this. I know Arkansas, Tennessee is always a sore subject for every single Arkansas fan in existence, whether it's a 7 overtime game or, of course, the Sternover. Clint Sterner did not fumble that football. He did not fumble that football. First thing, it was never Sterner's fault to begin with. He got tripped up by Brandon Bolesworth, okay, the legend. He got tripped up. But if you actually go watch the play, and for some reason, it is hard to get a full replay of this play from an end zone or all 22 angle. Clint Sterner, I had a text conversation with Clint Sterner before the season began. Clint Sterner, with possession of the ball to keep his balance, touched the football to the ground. Okay? Should have been down at the spot. The ball was down. And I understand it's fun to make fun of Clint Sterner. And I've spoken with Clint a few times, and he has been nothing but gracious of it, right? I have another friend who I will not mention publicly, who his football career is also defined by a fumble. All right. It is never good for your psyche when everyone remembers you for a mistake. Clint Sterner's always been good about it. What I don't want to do is publicly share this opinion and this be a big discussion point again. So I'm only going to mention it once. He did not fumble the ball. Everybody, welcome Harold to the channel. Wait, Harold, is this you? Rocky flogging, yo, blow away, you pig suey freaks. So I am not an Arkansas fan. But, you do you. I don't think I've ever seen a Harold in a Minnie Mouse selfie. That's an interesting fit. So Billy Ratliff blew up the center. So Scott was at the game. But that might not be you, Harold. Could be somebody else. No judge, though. You rock whatever fit you want to rock. I have no fashion sense myself. Oh, you calling me a dork? You're saying this to my face right now? I will say this. At least you're showing your face. I don't mind people that trash talk me. At least show your face if you're going to do it. At least. That's the least you can do. If you want to hide behind an avatar, I lose a lot of respect. Like a lot of Miami fans have been at my neck because I tweeted something about the Virginia Tech game. And people are like, dude, what about this play? What about that play? And another thing. Okay. What's up, little Joker? Good to see you. Another thing. When I do a film review, all right, I released a small video during the game of the A&M wide receiver, Thomas, doing the Tyreek Hill deuces sign right in front of the DB's face. All right. I did a video saying that was taunting and they should throw a flag if they actually were to call the rules by the rules. I hate taunting. I think taunting should be legal in all sports. And I understand a lot of people say, well, it leads to fights and all of that. But the truth is, I like taunting. I like taunting. Now, do I think there should be a flag for excessive taunting where you're like yelling right in a guy's face? Sure. But taunting for a couple of seconds after a big hit or whatever, or a touchdown, or if you want to do the do sign, whatever. Point is, the point of the short video was to show how dumb the rule is. All right. One of my all-time favorite players is a guy named Brad Wing. And he had a fake punt versus Florida. And he opened up his arms at a Florida defender while he was running into the end zone. Okay. Ironically, Arkansas had a really good fake punt. The truth, though, is Brad Wing got flagged and the touchdown didn't count because of taunting. So I don't know if the rule has changed, but I like taunting. My major point, though, is why do we have this rule if we are going to be blatantly inconsistent with it? Why does it even exist? It's stupid. But a lot of A&M fans kept doing the same thing. And it's not just A&M fans. All fans do this. And in particular for film study analysts like myself. Well, you didn't show the holding. And the worst comment, you can call me an albino walrus. You can call me every name in the book. But the one comment that offends me the most, because it offends me in its stupidity. They were holding all game. I hate that shit. Dude, it drives me wild. I will go on a cursing tirade if I see they were holding all game. I hate that. God, I hate that call. I hate that comment. Because in life is about specificity. give me specific examples of something. And it's hard to do that. But the laziest comment is they were holding all game. It's vague. It doesn't provide anything of relevance. Of course, holding happens all game because it's college football. People hold. It's just how it is. It's all levels of football. People hold. But I hate the holding all game thing. There are very few people that have genuinely legit gripes about holding all game. The 49ers are definitely some of them versus the Chiefs. Nick Bosa in particular. Now, what are my thoughts on Nico, says Harold. By the way, is Harold the only person still in the chat? And by the way, we'll do this real quick. Tell me where you're watching from. My thoughts on the play of Nico up to this point. He's actually... Oh, okay. So let me share this before any Arkansas or Tennessee fans get mad. Some Tennessee fans know me from the breakdowns. If I were to do a view count between film studies for Tennessee and Arkansas, they're probably pretty even. Okay, so I appreciate both fan bases quite a bit. Obviously, I have more friends in Arkansas than I do in Tennessee, but I developed a pretty good friendship with a lot of Vol fans. But not a lot of people know this about my opinion of Nico. I banged his drum. Pause. That sounded really terrible. I banged his drum. That sounded really terrible. That's the biggest Cameron and Mace pause of all time. Oh, man, that is the worst pause. But it's true. I was blown away the first time I saw Nico in his high school tape. Like, blown away. I was like, this guy is one of the best quarterback prospects I've ever seen. And I like the way he handled himself. I like the confidence. I like the pajama pants at camps. I mean, the dude just has a swagger about him. And I do my own evaluations of all the elite quarterbacks every year. And Nico was, to me, the number one guy. I had him ahead of Malachi Nelson. I had him ahead of Arch. But up to this point, they've not really needed a game for Nico to go out there and really light up a defense. It's not needed to happen just yet because this Tennessee team is so complete. They have not yet played a good quarterback. So Tennessee played versus Iowa. Iowa has no offense. Tennessee played versus Oklahoma. They weren't playing their best quarterback that game either. Tennessee played versus NC State. Their quarterback threw a pick six early, and that game was kind of over. Because Tennessee's defense has been so good, we've not really needed to see Nico play well. So to me, he's been a little underwhelming, but some of that is game script. So on top of that, one of my biggest plays before the season was Nico going over the passing total that was set for him at 2,500. I thought after game one, I was clearing that easily. But if Tennessee keeps blowing teams out, like Nico's numbers aren't going to be good enough for him to be in that Heisman conversation and over the total. So it's interesting. So I think Nico's been fine. He's just not really needed to do anything up to this point. So we got Blytheville in here, Locksburg, Bono, Arkansas, OKC, Rowlett, Huntsville, some bathroom in Arkansas. Any other QB than TAYLEN GREEN would be sacked 10 to 12 times. That's debatable. So I guess I need to go back and rewatch the game, see how much of it is offensive line versus TAYLEN GREEN. Oh, they would have gotten a lot. I mean, even a defense, JC, from like 10 years ago, it would be so many more penalties. All right. Pocahontas, Arkansas. Little Joker says, if Green throws 2 picks before the 4th, would you pull him? No, I would let him finish out the game. This is not the game you want Malachi Singleton to come in. It's just not the game. You got a bye week coming up. If TAYLEN GREEN is just hot dog water in this game, then you pull him. I might be the only SEC channel that's done a live stream today and not mention the words Georgia or Alabama. Like, what a game. What a legendary game. And I'm also like one of the few that's not mentioned Ryan Williams. What a player. Now, I do have some viewers on the East Coast. I want to say my thoughts and good vibes go out to you as you deal with the weather, the flooding. As someone from South Louisiana, I know how this works. Now, I've not, in particular, my family, been affected by flooding, but when Katrina happened, I did have family from New Orleans in the Louisiana area move in with my family in 2005. And this stuff sucks. I mean, this stuff sucks. So my prayers go out to North Carolina in particular, but all the areas affected by this. I do want to share this, though. When they say evacuate, get the out. All right. The second thing, don't ever drive through any type of water. It's the dumbest thing you can do. It is the dumbest thing. And I'll share this quick story and I'll get off my soapbox and get back into football and all that other stuff. I DJ'd a wedding recently and I almost drove into a lake. And when I tell you I've had nightmares about that, my biggest fear is drowning in my car underwater. I have shaking nightmares over this. Okay, don't ever do that. You deserve whatever comes your way if you try to do something, unless you have no other option. Okay, stuff sucks, man. Stuff freaking sucks. Pine Bluff, let's go. Zebra Nation or Watson Chapel. Little Rock, let's go. Pocahontas. Now, here's what I want to know from an Arkansas or Tennessee vantage point. This will be the last week that I do this. All right. Give me the name of a small town festival. There's nothing more that gets my juices flowing than these small town festivals. The one that has gotten me going, all right, is the Toad Suck Festival in Conway. The Toad Suck Festival. All right. One thing that did piss me off, all right. So my wife went to her niece's sorority function for like family day or whatever. They were given free tickets, all right, to go see the UCA Bears. So my wife could have experienced for free the purple turf in Conway. And she said, no, I'm tired. I wanted to divorce her on the spot. I lost so much respect. If you're given tickets to go to a college football mecca, you've got to go see the purple turf in Conway, Arkansas. You've got to. I mean, it's not even a negotiable. Now, Fabian makes a good point here. Are they too vested in TAYLEN financially? Is he taking up too much of the salary cap at Arkansas to not play him? Maybe so. Luke, and should I divorce my wife? That is unacceptable. The thing that really sucks is like Tennessee has like such rich college football history, as does Arkansas, with the 60s and all the great coaches and players and all of that. But I do the show on like the Arkansas Razorbacks, especially in the SEC. There are so many other good college football teams in SEC country. All right. But we only focus on the SEC because those are the brands and stuff that we care about. Harding Academy, I say Harding Academy, Harding University, the Bisons, just set a record for all-time college football winning streak in the state of Arkansas. They have won 55 consecutive games, and they won the national championship last year. They're really good. My next-door neighbor starts for OBU, and he's been an all-conference corner. OBU's good again. Wichita Baptist. Southern Arkansas University has a tight end on the Bengals. Henderson State has had some national college football powers. There's really good college football played. UCA always has some fringe NFL prospect or someone along those lines. UAPB, rich college football history. Now, are they dumpster fire right now? Sure. But I'm sure it's that way in Tennessee. There's a lot of good D2, D3 football. So what goes down in the Forest Festival in Tennessee? All right, there's another Twitter DM. And this happens on like my main LSU stuff. But please, if you can, comment on the mainstream. I know some of you just want to be anonymous or whatever. That's fine as well. But like I try to answer every single comment. The best way, though, to get my attention is to obviously donate, super chat, all that good stuff. But this comes in from Michael on Twitter. He said, hey, are you going to do any basketball coverage for Arkansas this year? It's interesting because Arkansas and Tennessee fans, a lot of you are wondering if you're going to actually win the Natty in basketball this year. And a lot of you Arkansas and Tennessee fans are probably wondering, are we going to win the Natty in baseball this year? So I will answer both of those questions. All right. I'm looking at all of you in the eyes. I'm predicting Coach Cal will knock UConn off in the national championship game this season to prevent the three-peat. I'm also going to predict that Rick Barnes, in honor of Dalton Connect, will make another Elite Eight this next year. All right. But for baseball this season, I give Dave Van Horn a lot of credit. Dave Van Horn, probably the best. If you take a look at the whole body of work, probably the best SEC baseball coach of the past couple of decades. Shoot me all you want. And there's probably not been a better college baseball coach in the past 3 seasons than Tony Vitello. And, of course, Tony is fresh off the Natty. Morgan Wallen's there. My guy Peyton Manning's there. And Peyton Manning, as many of you know, is my favorite football player of all time. Okay? And, of course, that takes out Drew Brees, Jane Daniels, and Joe Burrow. But Peyton Manning is my favorite football player of all time. Okay? And Peyton did a huge favor for me. He didn't have to do this. He did it for me. And one day I'll reveal that favor. He didn't want anything from it, but I thank Peyton Manning for that. I mean, this isn't like a humble brag or whatever, but one day I'll reveal that. He didn't think anything of it. It was pretty big. Okay. That's how good of a guy this is. I just wanted to put it out there because he does a lot of these kinds of things for people. And you don't really hear. I mean, a lot of A-list celebrities do this stuff, but Peyton, anyone that's ever met Peyton Manning will tell you it's not been a bad experience, right? It's the same thing with Paul Skeens, all right? But still, I'm going to address the baseball hype because we're getting around that season. Tony Vitello, Dave Van Horn, great coaches. But y'all, I've got bad news to share. It's really, really, really bad news to share. And I'm actually going to give you a warning that you can lead this show before I share this news. Okay? But before I do that, y'all know who's going to win the next College World Series. It'll be his second World Series national championship. Prolonging the legacies of the great Skip Bertman. I understand Paul Skeens isn't walking through that door. I understand Dylan Cruz isn't walking through that door. Trey Morgan, whoever you want to mention. But LSU is kicking all of your asses in baseball this next season. And it's not going to be freaking close. It's not going to be close. Dave Van Horn, you might as well just hang it up because you're not winning it this year. And Tony Vitello is probably thinking, hey, I'm good looking. I'm Italian. I'm the hottest thing on the planet Earth when it comes to college baseball. But you're not winning it this year, Tony. You're not. Because you want to know why? You know who LSU baseball has, who none of y'all stupid asses have? You know who LSU baseball has this year on their team? They have a freaking monster. He's 5'2", but he has the courage of a tiger. Monster Milam will be the National Player of the Year. This guy, the pride of New Mexico, okay? The best thing to come out of New Mexico since Walter freaking White. It's this guy right here. It's over. You better not even show up. LSU's coming back with a vengeance. I'm sick and tired of what happened versus North Carolina in the regionals this past year. LSU is coming for names. Got Brazzy back. Bullpen's going to be good. Got some good dudes from the freaking portal. LSU baseball's winning another natty. Lock it in. Lock it in. Now, I answer that because it all came from a Twitter DM. I will not be doing any basketball content. I might do an occasional live show or whatever. I kind of like college basketball to be just something I enjoy and not really cover. But if it got to the point where, like, I got offered a lot of money to do it, because bills must be paid in my mid-30s, sure, I'll happily do some college basketball content. But my guy Aaron Torres is the best college basketball personality alive right now. Am I biased? Yeah, because he's one of my best friends, but it is what it is. Now, I will also not do any college baseball stuff. It's just not really what I do. I'm an LSU YouTuber, as many of you know. I just can't do the day-to-day college baseball. So, I mean, there's just so many games. Now, I did get the opportunity to do some radio play-by-play for an LSU baseball game last year. And I love doing play-by-play in any sport. I don't like hockey, but I'll do play-by-play for that. I do play-by-play for a few college teams in Arkansas, actually, for more so for basketball. But I will not do much college baseball or college basketball stuff. So there you go. But you did give me an excuse to go on a rant about my love for LSU baseball. I still love it, right? It's just hard to. I mean, dude, it's just so much stuff. The midweek games are just too much. I will say my only college baseball rant, and I'll get back into a few more football stuff. I am very ecstatic that college baseball got rid of the stupid rule of 11.7 scholarships. I'm so glad they got rid of it. Okay. Well, it's because it's a college football channel. I do plan on going to a game this year. All right. Um, it was because of this channel I got to go see the Duke game last year. And I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. That was a top 5 sporting event I have ever been to. And I've been to natties and all of it. That was what college sports is all about. The bedrock of college sports was what went down in that game. The history. I loved, the ties of Nolan and the Duke program. Also, I have ties to the Duke basketball program as well. That game just meant a lot for me. And I'm not even an Arkansas fan. That place was so crazy. And it's going to be hard for any college basketball game to ever top that. The only other college basketball game that comes close was when the freaking Beatles came to the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, which is where LSU plays. Maya Moore and UConn played a game. I get chills thinking about it. And as great as Caitlin Clark is, and Caitlin Clark to me will be the best women's basketball player of all time when it's all said and done. Y'all, Maya Moore was it. Like, she is the best college basketball player I've ever seen. Maybe like men or women's. Like, she was that freaking good. Like, I think people forget how legendary her freaking career was. I think, Breanna Stewart had a better 4-year career. I don't think anyone's going to touch like her accolades, but Maya Moore is one of the best athletes I've ever seen in person. I saw college Derrick Rose. I saw college Anthony Davis. And those guys were good, but Maya Moore, sheesh. I also got to see college Caitlin Clark. And I go back and forth. Was Caitlin Clark better in college than Maya Moore? I think it's close. But LSU UConn was crazy. And Arkansas Duke was crazy. Now, of course, Arkansas and Duke neither turned out to be really good teams at all. I mean, Duke went to Elite Eight, but that run was fraudulent. But yeah, I think Bud Walton is the best arena in the SEC. Rupp doesn't count. Rupp's on a completely different level. But I do think Arkansas's got the best basketball arena in the SEC. Now, I'm not going to all the others, so I've really only been to 2, 3. So maybe I'm not like qualified to speak on it. I'm not Jay Billis, but Arkansas Duke is crazy. Now, oh, you think Paul Skeens is Nolan Ryan good? I don't agree, Harold. That's tough for Nolan Ryan because Paul Skeens clears every single pitcher that has ever taken a single breath. Sandy Koufax goes to bed every night thinking about Paul Skeens. Okay. Do I think Paul Skeens is he my favorite baseball player alive? Yeah, and it's not close. But it is what it is. My love for Paul Skeens is infinite. cannot be touched. His girlfriend is also a national championship LSU athlete. Because that's what we do. All right, y'all. Next 2 minutes, I'll answer as many as we possibly can. If I did not answer your question, I will go straight to it. I got another text to go vote. I've gotten them from all political parties. Like, it's too much. It's too much. I hate that. I hate that stuff. Okay. Oh, someone's having Diddy parties, Lil Joker? Not allowed here. Not allowed here. That's crazy. This will probably be the best comment, and welcome to the channel, Fabian. I've wondered this myself quite a few times. Let's take a look at the poll question as well. Dang, 61% of you said Malachi Singleton. Interesting. I wonder if college football, and I've shared this before a few separate times, should college football make it to where how much money you're making from the collectives is like public? Like, I've always wondered that, like, how our opinions would change. Do I think it would be a good thing or a bad thing for the sport? There is a piece of me that thinks it would be a really, really, really bad thing. Okay. Because there are a lot of crazy fans, some of which might be in here right now, that would hold over a young man's head how much money they're being paid, which should only be done at the professional level. I don't think that should be done at the collegiate level. And it shouldn't be done at it shouldn't be done at any level other than professional level, because the salaries can get ridiculous for some pro athletes, but it is what it is at this point. I've gone back and forth on it because, like, if we actually knew, and obviously someone that would have a better opinion on this would be Bobby Bones, right? I look up to Bobby Bones. Bobby and I started at the same radio company, right? And he's obviously up here and I'm right here. Huh? And I actually reached out to Bobby Bones when I started doing my country radio show. I did not know anything about country radio. And emailed Bobby a few times back and forth. But I've lost contact with him. I'd love to have him on any one of my channels, for being honest. And he actually got me excited to do country radio. I whatever. But Bobby was talking about on Twitter recently about how he gives 6 figures a year to Arkansas athletics. Now, I understand he's a millionaire plenty times over, and he's got plenty of national syndicated gigs. So he probably, I would say Bobby Bones every year probably makes $5 to $10 million a year from all the things that he does. With that said, six figures is a lot of money. You know, that is a lot of money to be giving players. And I understand that, like, a big discussion point, and I know Tennessee goes through this as well. You know, how fallen on deaf ears is it that you're asking people that work 9 to 5s to donate $1,000 a year for collectives or a month or whatever it is? It's tough. It's tough. But, you know, I think I don't know. I'm going to sleep on it and actually come back to this opinion next week on if player salaries should be made public. So there's a cliffhanger for you. Big shout out to all of you for hanging out today. Don't forget, we'll be live again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central, chatting everything Tennessee and also everything Arkansas again, because Tennessee and Arkansas play this weekend, okay? It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. And tonight, we are doing chicken enchiladas. Let's go.